Hey guys, Mr. Happy here, and today going to be doing some commentary over Leviathan Extreme Kill. This is from a BRD perspective. I'm going to be trying to upload multiple perspectives of every single fight, so that way, a lot of people ask me, I wish you do this from a tank perspective, or wish you do this from a healer perspective, or a melee perspective, and I want to be able to do those kind of things. I can't say they're all going to come immediately, but over the course of the patch, I do plan to do this on multiple roles, tank, healing, and DPS. If I can't find the time to get it done on another role, I'll see if I can get a friend to record it on another role and just do some commentary over that. It's pretty easy to understand looking at it from any role, really, especially DPS. I feel like as a BRD, I can see most of the arena, and you can generally see what people are doing. The tanks are usually far away, and it's really hard to tell what they're doing most of the time. So we just went through that first little mini phase for no reason at all. That phase exists. I don't know why they even give you that maybe 10-15 seconds just to DPS the boss. And then you come back up after the body slam, you got these small adds. These small adds, complete joke. I mean, we're full item level 90. I think we have drops from turn 6. We had 2 drops, so 2 110 drops from turn 6. And this is the kind of DPS we're doing. Now, obviously, we also have elegant weapons, which, it's a huge advantage when DPSing these kind of things. But you don't really have to worry too much about these things. Hydro Ball takes a really long time to cast, and if you focus them down one at a time, the odds of you seeing a Hydro Ball are slim to none. So don't worry too much about those guys. Just have your DPS tank them up where they spawn as best as possible, and just don't run around with them. Running around with them really breaks it up for, monks and dragoons. It's just not a nice thing to do. So not too far into the fight, then we get into when he stops dropping grand falls on people, which are the bubbly circles, and he starts doing spinning dive. Now, spinning dive, I have been trying to just figure out a really consistent way of dodging spinning dive, just because I know that reaction-based fights tend to be a little bit more chaotic when it's like, oh, he could come from any one of these 5 places. It was nice to have narrowed down one of the patterns, but we'll get back into that after this. Now, the big ad should be spawning right now. There he is. And I don't know why I'm still DPSing the tail here, but I've gotten better at this fight, so I don't do that anymore. We actually take a very long time to kill this ad. This is longer than you should take, but because you can stun lock him as long as he's not using Dread Storm, it's not that bad. I mean, it took me like what, 5-6 seconds to get on him, and he's still dying pretty quickly. And if you get a single Hysteria bubble, as long as it's as long as half of it is hanging off the edge of the arena, it doesn't take up much space at all. If you get one in the middle of the arena, it's trouble. And we actually have our off tank who's on the tail go over and tank that guy. He just leaves the tail because he has enough enmity from us tanking the small adds that he doesn't need to worry about continuously generating enmity on the tail if we're not attacking it. So the healers weren't pulling aggro, so we were okay. Now, more, again, spinning dives. We're looking at it again. He's doing 2 vertical ones. I'm 100% sure I've nailed this pattern down. If he's on the north side when he starts the phase, and then he, dives down on the north side, he will only come from the north side, if he's coming vertically at least. And then if he goes from north to south, then coming back, he'll go south to north. And because in the earlier spinning dive phases, prior to this gyre spume phase, he can only go vertically, you really can predict the first 2 spinning dives exactly where they will go to. Sure, he could be either the C or D side of the boat. As you can see, we have the way marks down for C and D, so I marked those sides as C and D respectively. He can be on either side, but he will only go vertically, so that part is really, really easy to dodge as soon as you know that pattern. Now, we're DPSing these gyre spumes. These things have quite a bit of HP, surprisingly. This feels like Ifrit's nails if it was a little bit tighter on the DPS check, so I'd say that overall, these gyre spumes in our current gear have a very tight DPS check. When first learning the fight, you may not have the DPS between dodging the spinning dives right here and also just trying to survive. So now he can start doing horizontal spinning dives, and this is where I had trouble predicting it. Now, I've noticed a few little tidbits of information that might be consistent. I need to do the fight and pay attention to it a lot more if I were to completely nail down a pattern between the horizontal. It seems that if he charges vertically all the way across, he can't, horizontally be on your side. Like if you were where A is right now, and he just charged from A to B vertically, then he will either charge where B is or where C is, but he cannot charge all the way on the other side of the boat. I really got to check more and more. In fact, this fight alone might even prove that to be wrong, but I guess we'll just have to see. So I'm actually going to hit the elemental converter here, and you've already seen some frame drops. This is going to be the second worst frame drop of the entire fight. There's so many particles. OBS, even with lower bit rates, just can't seem to handle something like Tidal Wave on the screen. It's it's bad. I mean, granted, you can barely see anything when tidal wave is on the screen either, but I need to be able to provide more consistent frame rates if in these videos. It's a complete bummer when I'm recording and you get those kind of frame rates. But now we're in the second phase. You just did tidal wave. We hit the elemental converter, and at this point, if you can do phase 1, there's no reason you can't do phase 2. The only thing that's actually brand new is the water spumes, which we'll get to in a little bit. Other than that, it's still the same 2 small adds, the same attacks from the head and the tail. There's no railings on the bar, so you really have to be on the ball with that one big ad later on. The gyro spumes are still the same DPS check they were before. There's nothing else to DPS in that phase that might cause you to lose more time, and you have the same amount of time, it seems. Overall, I feel like they could have done a lot more with the second phase. All they do is they make your mistakes a lot more punishing. Again, if you get hit by a spinning dive and you get hit off the edge, you're going to die. If you're not on the right side during a body slam, you're going to die. If you don't stun Dreadwash or you accidentally walk into a Dreadstorm, you're going to die. But overall, it's just the same phase over again with not allowing you to make any mistakes you may have made in the first phase. You can even still get hit by... We have people get hit by... I think I get hit by a spinning dive actually in this phase. I'm perfectly fine. As long as you don't stand on the edge of the arena, it shouldn't knock you back that far. Apologies, more frame rate droppage right here. There's going to be one more grand fall that severely drops my frame rate. And see there, he went all the way vertically across, and now he's charging across C. And it's just, I got to find a more consistent pattern to that. And when I find it, I'll, of course, post it on Facebook, Twitter. It might even be on Reddit or the official forums already. People who like to discuss these fights and things. So, there's like a really big lull right here between now and when the next gyro spumes spawn. As you can see, we're just DPSing the tail, the head. You know, we're going to get a tidal roar probably right about now, if I had to guess. A double tidal roar. It does a lot of damage, but it's healable. It's not something that is completely unfathomably healable. So now we have the gyro spumes, and these again aren't any different. I feel like just knocking the railings off the edge wasn't the right way to go for the second phase. Sure, it's a big thing, but I felt like they could have, because the fight is the extreme difficulty, I feel they could have done a little bit more other than just spawning an ad that can be stunned. If he couldn't be stunned, it would be disastrous because he uses Dreadwash and Dreadstorm very, very quickly. So if he couldn't be stunned, it would be disastrous. If he had that much HP, it would be a very tight DPS check, but I think that's not enough. Just knocking off the railings and then doing a double tidal roar, I feel like there's not enough emphasis on you trying to stay on the arena and making use of the space that you have. Now, again, apologize so much for these frame rate drops. I really need to try out DX Tori on this fight. There, see, I got hit by a spinning dive, but I was perfectly okay. Now, one thing that we kept forgetting going into this phase, he only does a single spinning dive there. And also, you can see the water spumes are tethered to the tank. They went right to the center when they spawned. They spawned right during the tidal roar after the gyro spumes. We all kind of just get on the other side. The tail tank doesn't care because he's not going to take much damage. And that's it. Look, that was barely any damage at all. And once you've got that down, it's so hard to lose the fight after you get those water spumes down. Unless you forget you need to press the elemental converter right here, which I've done a few times. You know, not going to lie about that. Overall, though, the fight is very simple. If you were capable of beating Garuda, Ifrit, and Titan, you have no reason to think that Leviathan is going to stop you from getting the Leviathan gear or anything. You have no reason to think he's going to be a roadblock for you in terms of skill and DPS. Especially if you're in full I-90 with without even an Allegan weapon. Even if you don't have an Allegan weapon, item level 90 is more than sufficient for this fight. Now, item level 80, the DPS checks on this fight would be much, much tighter, especially the gyro spumes. So I personally would recommend you have at least your Relic Zenith. As long as you have your Relic Zenith and an average item level of 80 on the rest of your armor, you should be okay. Having that weapon, though, will absolutely make a difference. Now, we limit break this guy. Personally, looking back, now that we know the stun patterns, we could very easily just stun him. The only reason we still limit break him is you never want to take a chance. If anything goes wrong and there's a Dreadwash that gets off, everyone's just going to start walking off the edge. It's just better safe than sorry. But once that thing is dead, it is literally just DPS the tail, deal with one more set of spinning dives and a body slam. At least for us, and then we were okay. And as people get more geared in the patch, people start getting their Animus weapons, people start buying their weathered weapons, getting unidentified Elegant Tomestones, people start upgrading items with Sands of Time and Oil of Time, people start getting more coil loot. This fight will only get easier, and there will be things you can get away with that you couldn't get away with before it was geared. And see, there he goes from west to east and then east to west. He's got to have some sort of pattern with those horizontal ones. I'll figure it out. Don't worry. But anyway, guys, if you were worried about, not being, up to par to get into Leviathan Extreme, just work on getting your mythology gear. Maybe work on getting yourself at least a Relic Zenith. And there's no reason you cannot beat this fight. This fight should be puggable on some servers, on servers that have decent extreme primal pugs. There's no reason why you shouldn't be able to pug this fight as well. As long as you can notice where Spinning Dive is coming from, you should be okay. But anyway, guys, hopefully you enjoyed this video. I'm going to try and work on those healing and tank perspectives. Melee DPS perspective, probably going to be a little bit longer for me. I can get healing and tank done. I have those geared and ready to go. I definitely need to gear out my monk a little bit more before I consider doing this fight, but it didn't seem that bad for a melee. You'll take a few tail swipes here and there, but nothing too major. Just DPS. You're going to get hit by the tails. You're going to maybe have to stun one of the ads, and you'll be okay. So anyway, guys, hopefully you enjoyed this video. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share. If you're looking for a more formal guide, check out the guide that I posted, alongside of this one. There's a link in the description below. Also, be sure to like me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter. As you can see, we got a Wave Staff item level 95. Not bad, especially considering you go from the one-handed 95 to the shield 90 to this. You get like one more int or something like that. And also be sure to follow me on Twitch where I do live stream Final Fantasy 14. I'm live streaming it again. I live streamed it yesterday, Monday. Today's April 1st, so no April Fool's jokes from me, but we'll see. But anyway, guys, thank you for watching, and until next time, take care.